Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry if you hear any background noise, I think it's from the construction site, not far from our building. I'm trying out different things regarding my video topics, and one of my biggest interests is cinema. So in this video I would love to share my thoughts on a TV show White Collar. Forgive me if I look at my notes sometimes. I've decided to write down a few points to make a better structure for this video and to make it less all over the place. All of my conclusions about this series are my personal opinions, of course. This video will contain some spoilers, but I will give you a spoiler alert before talking about the major ones. White Collar is one of my favorite crime shows. I watched it the first time in 2010, so about a year after it first aired. And now I've just finished rewatching it the second time. Considering it's been 12 years since it started, I would say that this show aged pretty well. It's one of those cozy and light TV shows that I personally can watch on almost any occasion. If I'm tired, if I just need to watch something while I eat, it has quite a lot of humor and it balances really well between comedy and drama. And also it doesn't really have any particularly violent scenes. I think it's a family-friendly show. White Collar is made in the best traditions of this genre, with beautiful shots of the city, New York in this case, exciting complicated cases and lots of charismatic characters. Just from the top of my head I would say it has some similarities with Catch Me If You Can. Most of the crime stories are quite original and a lot of them are centered around art and history, which isn't seen on a lot of TV shows from this genre. So being an artist myself, I appreciate it a lot. A famous expert in art forgery Neal is being captured by FBI agent Peter Burke. So to avoid long sentence, Caffrey proposes to become an FBI consultant. And agent Peter Burke agrees on the condition that Neal wears an ankle monitor. Neal Caffrey is actually very inclined to break the law, and Peter Burke, on the contrast, is a very honest, hard-working man. So basically, through the series we watch the relationship between those two very contrasting people.
Forging a signature is all about confidence. Here, sign this.
It's a neat trick. Don't ever copy mine again.
Never again.
You have copied my signature.
Let's focus on the crime at hand.
Also, something that makes White Collar quite special is that it doesn't really need a completely realistic approach. Some of its storylines are almost fantastical, like the tale of the greatest treasure turned out to be real. This show manages to pull off all of these situations and not look stupid at all. It's more like a sort of special combined genre. So let's talk about the characters. Two of the main characters are Neal Caffrey, played by Matt Bomer, and Peter Burke, played by Tim DeKay. Matt Bomer is extremely good looking, but he's also a very good dramatic actor. I really liked his acting in all emotional situations throughout the series. He is a criminal we're all supposed to root for till the very end. I will talk more about Neal Caffrey a bit later on in the video, in an anti-hero section. Tim DeKay is also absolutely charming as Peter Burke, but his charm is so different from Neal's. I would say that they are more like family, not like friends. Their relationship isn't easy at all. Some say that they have a sort of father-son dynamic in their relationship, but I am more for big brother and little brother analogy. Hi, it's me editing. Another very important point is that Neal and Peter both are equally brilliant. No one is smarter than the other, and they both know and respect that. Their relationship through the series are complicated. Peter Burke understands that Caffrey is a criminal, but he also gets really attached to him. Their story is incredibly interesting and kept me invested till the very last episode. Actually, White Collar team managed to create great chemistry between all of the main characters. It creates an amazing feeling that together they can crack any crazy case and protect each other along the way. Peter also has a wife who is one of the most charismatic female characters I've ever seen. She's kind, understanding and warm, but not at all helpless, even in the most terrifying circumstances. And she's wiser than Peter when it comes to judging people for who they really are. She's very supportive of Peter's career, even though she realizes all the dangers that come with it. She is a successful event planner, so from a work point of view she's very far from her husband's affairs, but often gets tangled up in criminal cases.
Morning, honey.
Peter, you're on my couch. Yeah, I came to talk to you, and frankly, Peter, I have to say I'm surprised you have such an amazing wife.
Yeah, I like her. Get off my couch.
You helped him sneak in.
Well, I wouldn't have had to sneak him in if there weren't those people sitting at our house.
Give me 1 minute to explain.
Mozzie is Neal Caffrey's friend from his criminal circle. He is a big believer in conspiracy theories and completely disregards government systems and the law. Mozzie is much more than a comic relief. He is a touching, odd character, really needed to balance out the suits and the impeccable slickness of Neal Caffrey.
Thought you'd be taller.
Me too.
The next great character I want to mention is June. June provided Caffrey with a decent home in the beginning of the series, and she feels like the main mother figure for Neal through the series. Apart from being extremely nice and welcoming and singing really well,
if I should take a notion to jump into the ocean, ain't nobody's business if I do.
she also has a very strong intuition and sees right through people. Now let's talk about Diana Berrigan. Apart from being so beautiful, she is also incredibly strong and composed. She genuinely believes that serving people is her purpose, and she risks her life for the law and saving others time and time again. With all that, she definitely has a different side, as do all well-written characters, softer and more vulnerable side. She has some drama in her personal life that makes her relatable, and an interesting backstory. Diana is loyal, supporting and loving, and it all works so great in combination with her fearlessness and toughness. When I was looking up some interviews with the team of the show, Matt Bomer and Tim DeKay both said that New York was also a very important character. I actually wanted to make this point when I was recording the video, but I discarded it as not significant enough. Now I regret it. Showrunners definitely sent some love to all of the city's features, shooting both lavish rooftop parties and criminal gatherings somewhere in abandoned warehouses. Another interesting part of White Collar is its villains. In a lot of TV shows, there is a new villain every season, each new one more terrifying than the previous one. But in White Collar, there is no way you can predict exactly who went away for good and who is coming back with a new plan. There are also decent twist villains, who I am going to discuss in a spoiler category a bit later in this video. Before proceeding with the spoilers part, let's talk about a few misses, because I have to accept that White Collar isn't perfect. Sometimes there is very cringy editing. I noticed it especially in season 4, but there are more moments like this throughout the series. Like those very long pauses when the characters are just looking at each other and intense music is playing in the background.
What? Nothing. Okay, all right. See you later. All right.
Or when someone comes to realize something very important and there is a very dramatic zoom, with a very dramatic loud sound effect. Green screens in White Collar are so ridiculous. The actress who played Elizabeth was pregnant, and showrunners really tried to hide her pregnancy with green screens. And they look... I'll try to include some footage, see for yourself. And another also horrible thing was their product placement. Peter Berg's wife, Elizabeth, is parking automatically, and it's a very long scene when there's nothing else happening. She's just parking. Those awkward long shots inside their cars when they're driving, showing different features. Anyway, now let's get into spoilers. I want to talk about Neal as an anti-hero. Neal is exceptionally intelligent, and he's an expert in many fields, including arts and history. Almost since the very beginning, we get that the world Neal lives in is very complex, and people's motivations aren't always clear. Not everything is black and white, and the law system is flawed. There are a lot of people he meets who are terrifying, and even though Neal has an extensive criminal history as a fraud, it always feels like Neal isn't like the most of his dangerous opponents in the criminal underworld. He's also certainly not following a charismatic bad guy trope. And there are some characters like Mozzie who always run from the law, but are kind, loyal, and would risk their lives for someone they love. Neal and Mozzie have big flaws, but for me neither one of them ever felt genuinely evil for 1 second during the show. So even if Caffrey has a certain disregard for the law, I don't remember one case in which he's intentionally harming anyone. When he knows that someone, especially someone he cares about, is in danger, he does everything to avoid that bad thing from happening, although tragically sometimes unsuccessfully. Neal Caffrey is often heartbroken and suffering, and he has very serious reasons for it. He basically loses his parents, then Kate, Everything and everyone he loves seems to always hang by a thread. This feeling of a thread never leaves you, and it's a very important part of white collar. Hi guys, I've just realized that I haven't said a word about Neal's relationships with women, aside from Rebecca. I thought that Amy from the last season was absolutely adorable and suited Neal really well, but unfortunately she was literally just present for one episode. I also liked Sarah. I think she was more interesting than Kate and Alex. She seemed sincere and honest with Neal, and their relationship, I think, were the most realistic of all of them. Alex is fun though, it's always curious what she's going to do next. Alex always puts herself first. She is a sly fox, a bit like Neal's own reflection. If I am being honest, I didn't really like Kate. I have a feeling that maybe showrunners weren't sure if she was going to turn evil or not, so they wrote her as a very vague and uncertain character. To me, she seems too cold, even though she's intriguing. I couldn't really see her and Neal as a couple and their future together. It always feels like Kate's going to flee, and one of Neal's deepest desires is to have some stability. It feels really good how justice was served for all the main villains in the show. I won't get into details about all of the evil guys and girls, but my favorite villains are Vincent Adler and Curtis Hagen. I can't say the same for Matthew Keller though. I'm afraid I hate him too much to even enjoy him appearing in the story. For me, he's more like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, completely disturbing and unbearable.
Oh, beer. Caffrey, you're a terrible host.
That's because I don't want you here to begin with.
I know.
And how do you plan to subdue the cops?
A bullet in each hand.
No. No killing. In fact, no guns at all.
Oh, Peter. Can I call you Peter? Now we're working together and all, huh?
Vincent Adler, on the other hand, is one of the biggest mysteries in the first seasons of White Collar. He is very classy and elegant in his evilness.
You were as close to a son as I ever had.
No. I'm nothing like you.
There's nothing sadder than a con man conning himself.
Curtis Hagen is such a bastard, honestly, and one is unlikely to ever get away when he starts his manipulation tactics. But I enjoyed every minute of his appearance on the show.
Down Peter Berg's neck, do you know?
We do?
What if I told you I was the reason he was so very determined to take Peter Berg down?
What do you want?
I want you to do me a favor.
And now for one character that is quite controversial to me, Rebecca. I did not approve this love interest for Neal. I got a major Sherlock Holmes sister vibes from her. She's like a completely evil person, except that with Sherlock Holmes' sister we got a story about her trauma in her past. Wait, was it trauma? Wait a second, she just killed a guy, right? She had no trauma. Then they're even more alike. Rebecca was super unconvincing for me as a shy and awkward girl. Bridget Regan is actually the first actress on the show who just seemed to be acting poorly. It felt like she was pushing it too hard all the time. All of her emotional moments before the twist just didn't seem genuine at all, from my point of view.
We've made incredible progress,
Yes.
sir. I'm going to let Agent Caffrey fill you in. I'm going to research this window, see if I can find out where it is.
Yeah, I'll put my FBI resources on it as well. Let's see who finds it first.
Okay.
And it felt like Neal wouldn't ever fall in love with someone so uncharismatic and fake. And all that considering, of course, that I love Rebecca's appearance and I think that the actress is exceptionally beautiful. So visually, they came together really well. However, when it's revealed that Rebecca is an assassin with a fake identity, and she suddenly can openly be a cold and calculating psycho she really is, she started to make much more sense to me, and all of her traits very much felt on point. This storyline was just a little bit ruined for me anyway, just because Rebecca was so unlikable. Also, just overall, I would say that the fourth season is the weakest in my opinion. It was the only season I was able to watch partly in the background. The story around Neal's father might have been an interesting one in theory, but somehow it didn't turn out to be a captivating storyline, and it all kind of fell apart. There are a lot of things I would love to discuss about this show, but there's no way I can discuss everything that's happened in 6 seasons in one go, so that video was more like a summary of White Collar series. This is something I would really like to do more and maybe give a more in-depth analysis in the future. And for now, it gets really dark outside, so that's the end of this video. Go and watch White Collar. See you next time. Bye!